Okay guys, welcome to the second ever Timpedia book review. This time I'm talking about Halo Evolutions, the new short story compilation by a ton of people. There's a lot of authors in here, a lot of them I don't know. Uh, just looking at the list, a couple of names I recognize. Eric Nylund, Frank, he wrote some of the Halo books, I believe, I forget which. Frank O'Connor, I think I remember him writing at least one, and Karen Travis, who I know from a lot of the Star Wars books I read. Sorry. Um, uh, Halo Evolutions is sort of a mixed bag. There's early on the stories are not very good, and they don't really have much focus. They just are sort of like they don't even really explore the lore at all of Halo. It's just sort of a random story that doesn't really apply to anything. But as you go on, I think I'll just go through each story individually. The first story is called Pariah, which is about a Spartan who, as a kid before the program, grew up in very less than ideal conditions and how it affects him. Stomping on the Heels of a Fuss. What was that about? Oh yeah, that was about an ONI, Office of Naval Intelligence officer, who gets captured by brutes, and it's just a very short story about how the brutes deal with each other. But it's pretty much, it doesn't really explain anything different than how the brutes were in Contact Harvest. Night in the Heart of Midlothian, I think it's called. I can't remember what this one about. Oh, right. It's about a Marine who finds out he has cancer, which is weird because cancer's been eradicated. And it turns out that while he's unconscious having surgery, the Covenant attack his ship and kill everyone. And it's pretty much about him fighting through the ship. Dirt is the next story. And it's about an ODST and how he... pretty much about his whole military career and how he dealt with a lot of his friends. He's from Harvest, and how a lot of his friends were like pro-insurgent and everything, and how he started out in the colonial military and worked his way up to ODST. Moving through, Headhunters. This was actually a good one. The first good one that I liked. It's another story about Spartan 3s, the ones from Ghosts of Onyx, and it's nice to see them again since they were only really in that story. So it's interesting to have more things about that. Blunt Instruments is another good one. It's about Spartan Team Black. It's sort of like Headhunters. It's about a Spartan team behind the lines, but these are Spartan 2s, so they're not as big of wusses. Moving through, the Mona Lisa is probably my least favorite one because it deals with my least favorite Halo topic, the Flood. Excuse me. It's about how the Flood get onto a prison ship, and it's found drifting near the first Halo. And yeah, I don't want to go into it more than that because I really didn't... It was okay, but it wasn't my favorite. Definitely probably down there. Moving through the book, let's see. I don't think there's too many more. I mean, there's... Jeez, sorry. Mona Lisa is it's pretty much the longest story. Okay, next one is called Palace Hotel, which is finally about the Chief. It's the only one that the Chief is the main character. And it's pretty much just him fighting on in New Mombasa for a little bit. It's one of the shortest stories, but it actually... I don't want to spoil the ending, but there's a very interesting reference to the Chief's past, which has never been explored before. It's only like one page, but it's kind of an interesting thing. And then the next story is called Human Weakness, which might be my favorite one because it's about Cortana and the Gravemind interacting between Halo 2 and 3. And it really shows how Cortana sort of falls into madness dealing with this giant entity, and it's really an interesting read. I like that's probably my favorite. No, that's not my favorite. Because this next one is my favorite. I told you the ending is really good. The second is it the last one? The second to last one is The Impossible Life and the Possible Death of Preston J. Cole. If you played Halo Wars, or if you read some of the books, or if you know what if you read the Cole Protocol, uh, Preston Cole was the admiral of the first real anti-Covenant fleet, like the fleet that took back Harvest and stuff. And it talks about his whole life, which is really interesting, and how he might have died in the last battle, taking out 200 Covenant ships with just one. And a really interesting thing. I like it the most because I really was always interested in the space battles in Halo. That's why Halo Reach is probably my favorite book out of those first three. And then we get to the last real story called The Return, which is just about an elite walking around on a glassed planet that he ordered the glassing of. It's approximately 5 years after the war, and it really doesn't mean anything. It really was not. It was sort of a disappointment to end on such a low note. And then there's this one very short thing just about some humans, human school. Doesn't say what the school's called in this. Oh, the Edinburgh University. It's about how humans are studying the portal, even though it's closed. They're studying it after the events of Halo 3. I think it's a couple of years after the war, but it doesn't really say. And that's all the story in Halo Evolutions. I would definitely, if you're a Halo fan, it's really cool just to read, to get some new perspectives on the Halo universe. It really spans the entire war. When was the first story? Yeah, Pariah is before the war, and it ends on The Return, which is after the war. So it really just spans the whole Human Covenant thing. It's really cool. The later stories are very good. The earlier stories are a bit more boring and not quite as interesting to me. But this is definitely a buy it, especially if you're a Halo fan. If you really are only interested in one or two stories, if you read about what they are online and you really only want to read one or two, then maybe I guess you could borrow it. But I'd almost still recommend buying it, because you might find a gem that you weren't expecting in one of the other stories. But yeah, that's my final recommendation. Buy this. I hope you guys enjoyed my second book review. Hope to do more soon, and I'll see you guys around.